Welcome back, my nomads. Welcome back to another Bitcast. It's your boy, and I'm here with Zach, man. It's been a while, man. How you doing?
I'm doing, man. It has been a minute. It's nice to catch up.
Dope, man. Ah, man, some of y'all might know out there, it's rough when you have a newborn, and that kid's been having me sick off and on since February, man. So
You're a
I'm still
science
getting,
experiment
yeah, I
right
feel
now, a
like it.
petri dish.
The first time I've been sick in 8 years, and I've been sick for 2 months, like straight. So
hmm
I'm still getting over a little cold, but we back at it, man. We back at it. A lot's happened since then. Our last one was The Way of Water.
January.
Yeah, The Way of Water. And
Jeez.
our time away is almost as long as that movie, So let's let's
God,
get
I
back
think it's
at it.
still going.
Yeah, I think it is. It's still in theaters, man. To be honest, man, I was thinking, do I want to go and see it again? That's like a four and a
No, no,
half
no, no.
hour ordeal, man.
That's you need to block off your day and you need to schedule that in advance. There's just no way I could commit that kind of time for me to watch that again.
No way,
Maybe
bro.
at home, but if I have a Saturday afternoon because you got to drive to the place and then you got to sit down and then you got to drive back.
And
It's
then there
five
was like
hours.
half an hour previews, bro, when I went. I don't know
Yeah.
about you,
It's just,
but I had to dehydrate myself to watch that movie.
Now, John Wick felt the same. John Wick was long too.
Bro, what is with movies nowadays, man? Movies are like
Hey,
two and a half
but
hours.
wasn't it any? You got to think of it. It's weird, right? Because music and our parents, like growing up, was very long. Like Led Zeppelin, 8 minutes.
Yes.
Now it's 2 minutes, two and a half. You're like, what is this? But movies,
Yeah.
we're okay with sitting there for 3.5 hours, thinking you got a clot in your leg because you're not standing.
Yeah, man, and a lot of these filmmakers want to talk about, oh, you'll sit there and watch, specifically James Cameron, will sit there and talk about, oh, you'll sit there and watch a 2.5 hour movie. I mean, you'll sit there and watch 8 episodes and binge watch it, but you won't watch my movie. I'm like, bro, I'm at home. I got a pause button. I can go to the bathroom. I can get something to
I use
eat.
that all the time. Pause
But
button.
yeah, but 2.5 hours in the theater, 3 hours in the theater, that's an ordeal, bro. Like, I have a small bladder, so I gotta dehydrate myself when I watch a movie. And I had to do that for John Wick, but I think John Wick 4 was worth it, man.
No, it was worth it. Even though if you felt like you were SpongeBob out of the water with no water in your body, I think it was worth it. No, I liked
Oh
it, and
yeah.
I had a 64-ounce soda because I'll hold it. I have that mentality where I'll hold it till I die. So I'm okay with it. I'm the best person to go to a movie with because one, I don't talk.
Oh yeah.
I'm not one of those people that will ask, "Who do I have I seen this person from? Who is that?" I hate people who do that, and we already know who these people are. I'm not going to name names,
So
but I'm like, oh man, I know this person. I'm like, first off, one, wait till after the movies, go on IMDb, and then you got it. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. So for those who don't know, Zach is over in the West Coast. I'm all the way on the East Coast. Obviously we have people we could go to the movies with, but for me personally, I've been going to the movies by myself the past like couple of years. Ever since the pandemic, I've been going by myself because I went to the movies during the pandemic, and now I just keep it going because I'm like I just like it, man. Like when I'm watching a
I
movie,
can't
I'm
do
in
that.
the movie, you know.
I can't do that because I would have a drone strike attack me if I did anything that wasn't with my wife. You know what I mean? So it's like I can't. There's no way. I get
Now,
yelled
I
at for
did
having a
see.
show by myself. You know what
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean? God forbid I got a show by myself. You know what I mean? God
right.
forbid. It's like you watch that without me. I'm like Jesus, come on. Like I can't
I
have
feel you.
Succession. I
I
can't
feel you.
have Succession. I love that show. You know. Thankfully, she kind of like got off of that, but it's just at some point, look, this. You've been with your wife for a while. I've been with my wife for 10 years now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, going on 8 for
So
me.
yeah, it's like, look, at a certain point, I need something that's mine because literally everything, it's like,
I
is
know.
yours. I just need one thing, and TV's got to be it.
Exactly, bro. Like, I will admit, I did see John Wick 4 with my wife because she likes those kind of movies. So she was like, "You're going to see that with me," because she knows I'll buy a ticket a week before I plan to go somewhere. And she was like,
Right,
"No,
of
don't
course.
do that. You're going with me." So I did see it
Was that the
with
best
her.
one though? Was that not the best one? That was the best one.
Ah,
Dude, that
at
fight scene,
first,
first off, Keanu Reeves, if anyone who didn't watch it, he only spoke like 300 words in the
I
entire movie.
know,
Half of it was yeah, and different
yeah,
iterations of yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And he shoots a million people, which is impressive given he's lost a finger.
I know. I'm like, your gun skills are crazy. Considering this, the
He's
this,
been blown up.
yeah,
He's
it's
been
gone.
stabbed a million times. Like, it's an impressive feat to
Yeah,
survive what he survived and still going at it.
yeah. I did see this one with my wife, and surprisingly, well, John Wick is a pretty straightforward franchise. There's not like so much lore and stuff that she's got to be like, what's going on? Who
Oh,
said what?
no,
So
it's too
it didn't
boring.
really interrupt me. So it was I maybe it was the best one because I rewatched all the last three after this one. And then I was like, you know what? I think it's right. Because before I was like, nah, I think I still like the third one the best. Then I went back and rewatched them. I was like, nah, I think the fourth one got it, man.
And the fact that it's 4 movies and they're all good, right? Because it wasn't that long ago that we talked about a franchise where all 3 movies are good, right? We have a few. John Wick was one of them, remember? We said
Yes,
that. So, and Lord of
yes.
the Rings, so on and so forth, right? But the fact that the fourth one's good, they left it open to where I don't care if
Anything could
anyone hasn't
happen.
seen this. He's dead or alive. He's probably alive, so they can make a fifth one. Because let's be real, they'll reboot this in like 2 years, you know, and they're like, all right, let's bring him back. Why not?
Next thing
And
you
I mean,
know,
it's
they're
not
gonna
like
do
he's
him like Kunta
aged.
Kente and chop off his toes, and he's still gonna be kicking people and knocking their heads off and stuff and shooting
He
them.
still looks like he's our age, so who cares?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And
yeah, man.
and God rest the soul of Lance Reddick,
Oh,
who a
Lance Reddick, man.
phenomenal actor, great
Yeah,
actor,
man.
love him.
R.I.P. Which is kind of strange that in the movie he he just dies in the beginning. I mean, I would say spoiler alert, but if you haven't seen it by now, what are you doing? But yeah, man, he just dies right in the beginning of the movie, and I'm like, whoa, what? Like, what? Maybe it would have been better if he had died in the third one during that battle, because that would have been a great send off. I feel like this one, he was just like, yeah, this is what's
No one
happening.
should kill
Bam.
him.
You
The
know?
thing is, like, he's not the kind of guy where it's fair for have the someone kill him because first off, he's killed 10,000 people at this point. What's one extra guy going to do?
Yeah, man, it's crazy. R.I.P. to Lance Reddick, man. Great dude, great actor, and he's
And
a
he did a good
genre
job.
guy too. He's in a lot of video games and stuff, and yeah, man, R.I.P. man. But yeah, John Wick, man. We got to put that down. We might have to do another franchise. Well, we wouldn't do another franchise video because there hasn't been another successful franchise besides John Wick.
What about Transformers? They have the eighth one that's just coming out. Star
Which
Wars?
I'm down for, but oh, Star Wars. I'm down for the because this one's based off the Bumblebee reboot movie. So they're piggyback off. Bumblebee was great. It was like the Iron Giant, but like
I don't mind spin-offs and having a franchise movie. Like, they might as well just make shows at this point. I understand serialized movie
right.
chapters. I get that, right? I don't know. It's just at a certain point, it's going to be an easy $400 million for you to make, so they just do it, right? At this point,
I mean, it's
and
printing money, which is why they're still making Fast and Furious movies. So it's printing
I
money.
watch those still. That's the weird part.
I
I'm
do
like
too. It's
every
strange.
time I'm like, I'm not going to watch this, and I go ahead and I watch it. I'm like, okay,
I haven't seen the
okay.
ninth one though. I still got to see that. But
There's more people being shot than there are cars racing now. If you haven't figured that out yet,
yeah, I
just kind of
mean,
sucks.
it's wild, man. It's they were just driving cars in the first one. That was it. It was like Point
First
Break,
two.
but with
Oh, Tokyo
cars.
Drift.
Yeah, Tokyo
That's three.
Drift.
So three.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Tokyo Drift is officially canon now. Like, I like how they sandwiched it in, but I mean, I don't think there's a successful franchise, new one at least, besides John Wick. John Wick. I mean, it's amazing, and And why do you think what is your guesstimation of why John Wick is so successful?
Because it's simple and it doesn't try to be something that it's not.
Yes. Yes,
It's
I was
very to
about
the
to say
point.
that.
It's cut and dry. You're like, he's got a cool car he drives around in. He
Right.
loves his dog. His wife died, and he's got the vengeance of a 10,000-year-old samurai demon who will kill anyone. Seriously,
Yeah,
that's
man.
it. What else is there to it? You know, you
Mhm.
don't need to have all these crazy sex scenes and all this
I know.
stuff to, bring people in. It's like, or some kind of extravagant love story, which will never happen in any other kind of fantasy land. So it's simple. I like it. And the weapons are cool. I would love to buy one myself if they weren't $8,000 a piece, but the hit, all that stuff's cool.
I believe you will have one day.
I tried, but it's got like a 48-week wait time before I can order it. So I'm like, well, I
The
guess
fact
I'll
that they're
wait.
making spin-off movies, I don't think that's going to help the wait list either.
No, the thing is, first off, I'll tell you something about guns and I'll get off of it. Having a gun like that, I feel like the majority of the people buying them who have that kind of money have no reason to buy something with that type of performance. It's like buying a Lamborghini and not going over 65.
Right.
You know what I
It's like
mean? Like,
sneakerheads
unless,
who buy sneakers and don't wear them. They just keep them in a display case.
no, exactly. It's like, look, for guns like that, like you have to use them and it's meant for tactical sports shooting. It's meant for
Yeah.
competitive shooting. How many people are using it for competitive shooting? Probably no one. And that's not a
No.
gun you want to carry around and use as a protection gun. So it's like, what's the point? It's besides the point. But no, they're really cool though.
Yes.
Terran Tactical, look them up on Instagram. They're awesome.
I think we
I
talked
would.
about this online, but they should make a video game series just so you can have those like cool guns displayed and you pick which one for
Oh,
each
dude.
mission,
Yeah, I
assassination
don't know who's
missions. So
cooler weapon case is the Punisher or John Wick. Because I'm telling you, they got some nice wares.
I think John Wick because the latest Punisher stuff hasn't really emphasized the weapons. They've just been like
They're
brutality,
there, but if
Yeah,
you know
they're
what they
there.
are, you know what they are. I'm like,
Right, right.
look, he's got some high performance stuff too. Obviously, he's
Yeah.
killing
The
a
Punisher
million
movie, the
people.
Thomas Jane one, I remember the very first one. Well, not the Dolph Lundgren one, that was the first one, but the Thomas Jane one, they kind of emphasized the weapons that he was using, especially the handguns. And then after that, the movies were just, and the TV shows were
I
just
didn't
like
like those.
brutality.
I'm talking about the TV show with John Barenthal. Now his
Mhm.
stuff, I'm like, all right, this is cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
no, you're
The
right.
Thomas Jane one was kind of, they had the Thomas Jane, then they had Ray Stevenson one called Punisher Warzone. Those were actually good for the time that they came out. And then TV series came out and movies came out, and it's like,
John
oh, we can do
Barenthal is the
this
best
now.
one,
Yeah, hands
and
down.
he's the best one that can because his character is very difficult to portray. Like, it's not difficult to portray; it's difficult to make likable and relatable because you're like, oh man, his wife and his daughter died, type of thing, right? Mafia, all
Yeah,
that stuff. But this man's just pure vengeance. That's all he is,
yeah,
and
he's
he's
just
too hateful to
slaughtering
die.
people, and it's that's why he's mostly a villain in the comics. They trying to make him an
He's an
anti-hero
anti-hero because he
sometimes.
gets hired to kill Spider-Man and he fights the Hawk and all
But
the
if you get a
X-Men
good
and
writing team like in the TV series, you get to sympathize with him and you see why he does what he does. And I liked how in the
he's coming
Daredevil
back.
series, in season two when he introduced, they made an emphasis of the trauma that happened with his injuries to his brain. He's actually reliving what happened to his wife and kids like every day. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, bro,
And his
this is a
best
guy
friend
who,
did it.
yeah, yeah. I was just thinking about that scene yesterday when he's captured in the first season, and he's just like, Billy, you got to be the one to kill me, man. You don't let this guy do it. You got to be the one to do it. I'm like, yo, that's
And
wild, son.
all along, Billy's the one who's done
Yeah.
everything, which is
And
just
at that
like,
point in the show, he knew Billy betrayed him. That was like his brother, but he knew he betrayed him. He knew he's the reason why his wife and kids are dead. But he was just like, even though you did all that to me, I'd rather you kill me than this piece of crap over here. He's like, come on, Billy, you gotta do it. You gotta be the one to do it, man. You gotta. I was like, oh snap, that's wild, man.
even though he's typecasted, like guys in
Yeah,
that type of environment or in that Community, special operations community like that. Like they're just like that. You know what I mean? So he's just he
That's what I heard.
add the loss to like, his
Hmm.
wife and daughter, kind of like the Terminal List, if anyone's ever watched that,
Hmm.
he's a little more adapted because Chris Pratt doesn't play like angry, you
Hmm.
know,
I
but
haven't checked that out yet.
it hits you hard. He gets, it's a book series, right?
Hmm.
Based on Jack Carr, who was a Navy SEAL, wrote this terminal. So he's a Navy SEAL, gets framed, government's after him. It's a very Jack Bauer 24 type of thing. He gets himself cleared and
Right up
kills
my
people.
alley.
Exactly. All right. I love 24. If
Hmm.
Kiefer Sutherland could just do 24 till he dies, I'll be happy. But,
I heard that's what his
obviously,
new show's like. I think it's called Rabbit Hole on Peacock.
yes, someone just told me on Paramount.
Oh, Paramount. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I always
Someone
get
just
those
told me
two
to watch
services
that.
mixed up.
Yeah. No,
Peacock, Paramount. They look the
have you
same.
have you watched Succession, by the way?
No.
What?
Nah.
Why? It's just such your cup
I
of
feel
tea.
like that's the type of show where I have to wait until it's all done, and then I'm just gonna want to eat that. I don't binge
Dude, there's
watch
only
shows,
three
but
first
I'm
there's
gonna
only
want
a couple seasons. There's only a few seasons anyway, right? And it's
to. Yeah,
almost done this finale. Like
mm,
this is the perfect
perfect time.
example of people that like Adam McKay writes it. He created it, right? Which
Mm.
him and Will Ferrell produced this and everything, right?
Yeah, that's wild.
And but they know how to end it. It's not lasting longer than it should, even though I want it to
Exactly.
last forever because it's so good. But at some point, you're like, look, this circus has to end,
Right,
and
right.
it's just great. And you should definitely watch it.
So I'm looking for a new show to start. Should I check out Terminal List or that first?
I don't know, man. Terminalist is an emotional roller coaster. That's something that you got to be in the right mind frame for.
Speaking of
100%.
emotional roller coaster and long movies, I just rewatched Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and
What you think?
man,
Again,
that's like 2 hours and 40 minutes, and
no, it's long. Yeah,
it's
it's
emotionally heavy.
okay. I mean, I didn't like it as much as the first one.
Yeah, me neither, but it's hard. It's the 2 hours and 40 minutes that you actually feel because the whole movie is just a heavy, emotional, slow burn.
No, yeah, it's a black hole, dude. Like you can tell there's something missing and you know what it is, but you can't like put your finger on it at the same time. It's like, well, okay, so what do you do without having the main guy in there? Like your main central character, and Chadwick Boseman's been out. He's been gone for a few years now. It's just like, but it really hits you that he's gone when you see that movie without him in it.
Yeah, and he was very close to the cast and crew, and you can see it in there. You could see that for the crew and the filmmakers and the actors, it was very cathartic for them to make that movie. I still believe it needed a little more time to cook. They could have pushed it until like this year, and middle of this year, but I think that's the best version of the movie
Yeah, they're
we would
not going to
ever
make
get.
another one. I can't imagine them making another one. There's no way.
But it was just too heavy for it to be that long, emotional wise. That's not like I could rewatch the first one, but you can't really rewatch that one. It's just so emotionally heavy, man. It's just and you're just like 2 hours and 40 minutes of dang, like dude is gone and people are crying every scene and it's like and it tries to be funny at times, it tries to be off kilter, but it's just heavy, man. I'm not saying it's a bad film. It's just to put yourself through that for 2 hours and 40 minutes, it's heavy, bro. But yeah, man, it's these movies, man. I mean, it's. Do you think we're gonna go back to the hour and 30 minute movie, or things are just gonna get bigger and bigger?
Yeah,
Because
I don't think
longer
we're going to
means
go to
more
that.
money.
Part of that too, but I think an hour 30 minutes. It's just maybe those one-off like Sundance movies. Like movies that are meant to win an Oscar type of thing.
Yeah,
But movies that are like meant to like entertain and like bring in, there's no way because after pandemic told us something, right? You need real content because after everything got lifted and people went back to normal, you see all of the streaming services, all the content they were recycling and trying to put out to bring people back to being interested again, and there wasn't anything doing it. So you need something with substance. And if you don't have it, which you can't do in an hour and 30 minutes, you need it longer. I think people are willing to trade the substance for the fact that they're going to wait a while to get it, especially in a movie. 2.5 hours is the minimum now.
Yeah, man. Speaking of substance, man, now now the whole streaming zeitgeist is finding out quantity over quality is not the way to go. And now a lot of these streaming services are reassessing how they put out content. Because before it was just like put this out, put that out, reboot that, remake that, let's do
No,
that.
because you could just pass it off and you spend all that money because there's a real good way to track it now of what people's watching.
Yep. And so many people, so many services have lost money. It's kind of wild. And now Warner Brothers is a perfect example. So many streaming services are just licensing out their own content so that they can pay the bills. And now we see the aftermath. We're starting to see the aftermath of what happened with all these streaming services getting their own platforms during the pandemic
Do you
and
think
putting
Warner
out this
Brothers will
dribble.
survive this whole thing? I don't see it.
I don't
How?
know. The industry as a whole is starting to show cracks, man, because how we're ingesting content is different now. The pay scale has just gone upside down, and now people aren't getting paid for the work. Writers, there's going to be a writer strike soon, and the last time they did that, we got horrible movies like Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen and that craziness of Quantum Solace. You know, this is what happens when you don't have writers because they're on strike. You get horrible, horrible content. And also, we got horrible content because writers were overworked and then there weren't enough writers. So people were just getting hired for stuff they didn't have the experience to do. And so we got these stupid shows and stupid seasons of shows because the streaming platforms were like, look, we got to put out content. So just hire this guy, you know, because he has a big following online on Twitter, you know, and he's wrote some stuff. So, you know, let's hire him in. I mean, that's how you get She-Hulk. Crap like that, you know. Marvel's like, oh, we're gonna give you all these shows and movies at the same time. That's why
See,
you have
Disney's okay because they can
horrible stuff.
afford to make blunders like that because they
Yeah,
have such a catalog of original characters now
yeah,
that it's almost impossible for them to go under.
yeah, yeah. True, but Bob Iger, he's pulling the reins back. He's like, look, we're cutting down
Well,
over
Chapek did
half
not
of
do
the
anyone
stuff we
any
said.
good.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
their
man.
whole they got into territory they should never have gone into, which
Uh,
is societal's like issues and culture problems and getting into fight with the governor of Florida. It's like, look,
that they're
regardless if you
still
feel it's
in.
justified or not, it's like you're not going to win this. Okay,
Nah,
people have shown that they're tired of that, and you need to learn how to just stop. But the thing is with Iger, right, is that he's business first and he's willing to do whatever it takes to get that back to normalcy. But there were some beds you can't unmake, and I think they're kind of stuck in that now. You know,
yeah, man.
it
Yeah,
sucks
man.
because it's
Oh,
like,
oh.
and you see who they fire or who they keep on. Like you're willing to get rid of your head of special effects who's been there forever, right?
17 years.
But
Victoria
Kathleen Kennedy
Alonso.
doesn't get launched to the moon. I don't understand.
That's an odd one for
She's
me.
probably got naked photos of him somewhere. I'm telling you.
Bro, I don't understand it. I mean, Victoria Alonso technically she breached contract when she financed an independent film with a
Yeah,
different
who doesn't
studio,
breach that? Like it's that stuff happens all
but
the
it's happened
time, and
before. So I'm like, something must have happened behind the scenes, or it's been happening behind the scenes to where they're like, oh, we finally got something where we can say this is justified to get rid of her.
but look at the
Whereas,
look at media as a whole,
mm,
and every facet and every type of thing, like news anchors recently with Carlson and Lemon getting launched. And
yeah,
you see what's his name from ABC who got launched recently was Silver, Adam Silver, whatever his name is. Adam
mm,
Silver is the NBA commissioner, but you know who I'm saying. It's something Silver, right? He's been
mm,
there forever. the NBC CEO. Like, you're seeing a lot of people who've been there for a long time just get launched. And
Yeah,
I
they
think a
have.
lot of it now is because there's now accountability to your viewers and to the people who digest your content.
Mm.
It's flat out like, look, we have a million different things we can look at now. I don't have to go to Disney Plus. I could just turn on, you know, Netflix. Netflix is making a reemergence again. You know why? Because they played their cards very nicely in the last, like, 5-6 months since they've been reorganizing themselves after everyone just thought they were doomed. You
Hmm.
know, and I cable television is pretty much a geriatric and hospice now. It's a matter of time before they're gone. It is.
Yeah.
Tell me
Yeah.
how it's not.
I
You
mean, only
see
like
YouTube
retirees
getting
watch it.
NFL Sunday tickets, so you see like these legitimate companies getting these large media components, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, the normal brick and mortar type of stuff that we were used to having as kids, like it's no longer a thing. It's not needed. You know.
Yeah, and I'll tell
What
you
do you
from a
think?
creative standpoint, the old um the old model of how we watch TV just didn't work for me after like 2015. I stopped watching cable network shows because that whole model of
Oh,
where it
dude,
was
it's
a
so
season of
bad.
television would be 22 episodes,
For a
and
half hour.
for 20 minutes
Yeah.
with 1,000 commercials, and they would write, direct, I mean, excuse me, they would write, edit, and post production wise, do everything at the same time, which is why there were so many plot holes, which is why you would find actors playing a different part from they'll be in season one playing one part, and then they'll be in season
It'd
three
be in
playing a
like
different
season
part.
8, like, how did he come back to
Yeah.
life?
It's like, oh, they're a different character. Like they're
NCIS,
yeah, so
CSI, those
VR.
kind of shows.
So it's like that way of making stuff would and the hours were crazy and everything. Like there were so many plot holes, the stories would fall apart. Sometimes the actors would be on set and they wouldn't have a script. So they would just have to like improvise what they think their character would think. And then the writers would get noticed like, oh, so they finished shooting this even though they didn't have a script. So give me the footage so I can write the next scene for them. Like, so it just didn't work. Now
Oh my
TV
god.
is being done like films where there's pre-production, then you shoot it, then you fix it, then you edit it in post. So that's what TV is not, and you have a set amount of episodes. It's like 8 to 12 episodes per season. So now everything's a little more put together, a little more complete, and you can plan it out better, and you can cast better, and everything like that. But it's better for the viewer, but behind the scenes there's cracks because this is a new way of getting content. It's not cable anymore. You can't syndicate shows anymore because all these most of these platforms are international, so now the whole pay is different.
And
How
they
do
don't
you
last
pay
that
these
long.
people?
They don't
Exactly.
have enough episodes for it either to get syndicated.
They don't last that long and they take longer to make. I mean, Last of Us just dropped, but we won't be able to see the second season until 2024. So it's like TV has changed now to where it's kind of better for the viewer, but for the workers, the people behind the scenes, they're roughing it out, man. They're trying to survive, they're trying to make money. And I don't believe the writer's strike will be the only strike. I think there will be more strikes, with crew members. And well, actually, it was last year the IATSE company, the unions for the crew members were about to go on strike. I think
And they
they
fixed
worked
it last
something out.
second.
Yeah, they fixed it because all the productions were going to be
Yeah, because
done.
all that stuff's unionized, dude. Because you
Yes.
got to think of it too. It's not just LA where they film this stuff at. They film it here in Vegas, and that's heavy union. You got Georgia, like you got places that are very union friendly,
Yeah.
so they got to worry about than just the the talent. There's a lot that
Yeah.
goes involved with it. If you don't have people to build this stuff, or there's certain states where the only thing that can get built or done is by a union, if they go on strike, you're screwed. There's
Oh
nothing you
yeah.
can do.
I mean,
You
all of
know,
these positions, the camera guy, the food guy,
the lighting,
the
the
lighting,
lighting,
the
the
sound guy,
makeup,
everything is
the
union, and it has to be
costume.
for
Yeah,
a good reason. But
yes.
they just don't know how to pay these people now, and it's not. Part of it's
They
not.
don't. They know how to pay them. They just don't want
Yeah,
to.
that's
There's a difference. All
exactly
right.
that's the thing. It's not that they don't know how to pay them, but now these producers are like, oh, we want all this content, but we can do a loophole here. Oh, we just paid you for. There was even writer rooms happening called mini rooms or something like that, where the writers weren't
Mini
getting paid
rooms
at all. They weren't getting
sounds
paid at
like
all.
a
It's
sounds
wild.
like a Rick and Morty skit. Mini rooms. I got a question for you. What three shows are you looking forward to that's coming out this year?
Um, what's it called? Marvel, not Secret Wars. What's the one with Samuel Jackson and the
That's a
Scroll?
Oh yeah, with the Nick Fury one. Yeah,
The
yeah.
Nick Fury, the Scroll are like undercover or
Okay.
whatever. I forgot what the name of that is.
Okay.
So that's a TV show. I actually can't tell you what TV shows are coming out. Actually, man. Um, I could tell you what movies could be potentially be coming out.
Nah, TV shows, movies.
I don't really know, man. I don't know what movie shows are coming out.
All
I
right,
don't
I'll
know.
give you my three.
All right.
Billions. I love Billions.
Oh, okay.
You watch that show?
Nah.
Paul Giamatti. Damian
Yeah, I
Lewis
know.
is back after his wife passed, so he skipped last season. That's coming back. I can't.
Mm,
If anyone likes Wall Street esque type of drama,
mm.
that's the show. The Witcher. Come on, The Witcher's
Oh
coming out.
yeah, yeah. I forgot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude. Henry Cavill's last hurrah with that. I don't know what
yeah.
happened with that. What
There's a lot of
happened?
hearsay, man. There's a lot of
We
hearsay.
went from he's in everything and now he's in nothing.
I know, which is wild, man. Which is wild.
I I
If
think
I
it's
was him, I would
jealousy.
just take this time just to enjoy some time off. This dude's been working like crazy for a few years now. Maybe this is life, the universe saying like, bro, take a 5 minute break. Like just relax, play some games, go on some vacations, and then get back on the grind. Cause he was about to do about like three different franchises at the same time. I'm
Yeah.
like, dang, bro,
Highlander.
when are you gonna breathe? Like, shoot,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
But my most favorite one I'm looking forward to is Foundation. I
Oh,
can't wait
okay.
for Foundation to
Yeah,
come back.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If anyone's got Apple TV, that show is so worth it. All price of admission. Apple TV is great, actually. Anyway,
They're
but
starting to come up. They on the come up, man. I am looking forward. I know the season might be over, but I'm looking forward to watching the last season of Ted Lasso. That's gonna be dope.
it's good. Yeah, that's it's going on right now. It's very good. That show is very well done. Shrink. The one with Harrison Ford and Jason Segel. That's a very good
Yeah,
show too on Apple TV.
yeah, they're starting to be on the come up, man. Before I feel like Apple TV was like, let's just get the biggest stars to to be in whatever we want them to be. Now it's like let's get not only get the biggest stars, but let's also give them good story. So I'm like,
Oh, or The Boys.
oh yeah, the boys. Yo, the boys. Yes, when's that coming out?
I
Actually,
have no idea. I know it's at some point, but I'm like, wait a minute, come on. You kidding me?
come
Show's
on, the boys.
ridiculous.
What do you think about the spinoff?
I don't know. I feel like historically, when it comes to any kind of spinoffs, it's you always have expectations. It's not the same. It's just like what I mean. It's kind of like Game
Why
of Thrones
do it?
spinoff, where I'm like House of Dragons, like it's a little.
I think it's kind of weird that they're doing a spinoff at the same time they're doing the regular show.
Yeah, it's usually spinoffs kind of tie a bow a little nicer for like stuff that's after the fact, or it
Yeah.
gives you context for beforehand.
Like you said,
And
House of the Dragon, that's a good example of one. That came out after Game of Thrones.
yeah, years after.
Yeah, so it's like, why are you doing this at the same? And it's kind of different because the spinoff for the boys is supposed to be like the new up and coming generation of heroes in college or something like that. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I really don't care about college kids. I just want to see, Homelander just F up stuff. I want to see the rise of Homelander that they teased at the end of the last season. How he's just like,
Now,
oh, okay.
now, so how many more seasons do you think they can keep up with this? Because the graphic novels got an extensive library.
Well, they deviated from the graphic novels.
Oh, I know they did. Same with Walking Dead, but
Yeah,
this is Amazon's first like
huge,
blockbuster
successful
successful series. Like they have
adaptation.
good shows, right? But not everyone that watches it. So we
Yeah,
got to differentiate that.
that's the thing about Amazon. They have good shows that no one watches, but when you watch one, you're like, "Yo, this is dope." Like,
Lord of the Rings is cool. You know, there's
besides
some
Jack Reacher,
obvious issue. Jack Reacher's cool too. Jack Reacher's way better than in movies because having Tom Cruise portray a guy who's supposed to be
yeah,
like 6'5" and
those
John
movies
Cena
were good.
rips.
The show is better, just because
Yes.
they're more faithful
Well,
to
the
the books, from
writer,
what
the
I hear.
writer was like, "Look, if they're going to make another Jack Reacher movie with Tom Cruise, I quit. I'm just going to take his words, my shit elsewhere to streaming service." And he's look at him. He went to Amazon. So it's like, why not?
Yeah, man.
And you don't have to wait as long to get everything moving.
Oh yeah. And you mentioned uh Rings of Power. Uh, We'll just leave it at that. I was hyped for that show and didn't deliver, man. Didn't deliver at
I
all.
think uh,
Ah,
some of the writings, the dialogue writing. I'm not talking about the writing for this plot. I'm talking about the dialogue
the
writing.
dialogue was just
Basic.
like,
I think that's what ruined it.
I was like, if I could write better dialogue, come on, man. I'm sure you can find
Like the
somebody.
first off, the Gladriel character, she's boring.
Bro.
She's supposed to be the most badass thing ever,
Shout out
and
to the drinker, the drinker on YouTube. He has this term called the strong female warrior. I mean, the strong female character. There's certain rules that you have to lay out to have a good protagonist, a good main character, unless
uh,
you're a strong female character.
yeah, they think if you're a strong female character, it's supposed to abdicate towards the norms of what a good character is supposed to be. I'm like, no, it's not true. Just because you check off a box doesn't mean that you're doing anything right.
If your
And
main
look,
character doesn't work, your chances are your whole story, your whole show, your whole movie won't work either.
what do Kate Blanchett as the character in the original movies, right?
Yeah.
She's not the most attractive woman, I'll say that, but she oozes sex appeal in that. I'm telling you, just something about her was just like wow. And I'm not just talking about like I'm not objectifying her. I'm just saying her in general. Like she comes across as this all-knowing, all-wise type of character. I'm like, and she does it so effortlessly. Like I don't understand why. Because I understand if she's 2,000 years old, whatever the heck she is, but she's young in terms of the grand scope of things, right? And she's trying to figure things
She's
out.
young for an elf.
But
Yeah.
she's got like no sense, none.
Well, that's the thing. The Galadriel in the show is like a blank sheet of white paper. It's like
Why is
there's
she so
nothing
boring?
there.
She's
Yeah.
supposed to be exciting. She's supposed to be going out making mistakes. Like she's so boring,
It's
man.
like
Like,
some people get killed her facial expression.
uh,
like
uh,
like you get what you want. It's like,
okay.
yo, she's like this. And I don't blame the actress. I'm just like, you gotta write and direct better, like
I
it's
don't mind
strong.
her. Like she fits the bill. Okay. Like
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like with Hayden Christensen with the Star Wars prequels. I mean,
oh god.
it's like you give him the script and you're like, this is what I gotta work with, bro. Like,
And Leonardo DiCaprio, I don't think he would have been able to fix that either.
maybe that's why he turned it down, But like, I mean,
He's like, what is this?
the writing in Rings of Power was just so blah. Just because you spent billions of dollars on a franchise that made millions and billions of dollars doesn't mean that you can just put out whatever and people are going to like it.
I want to go back to the Hayden Christensen thing because he's kind of showcased what he's able to do after the fact, but you don't like Obi-Wan, and I like Obi-Wan, which is kind of weird because we're usually on the same page when it comes to like Star Wars stuff, right? But I want
Obi-Wan felt like fan service without any like substance, man.
what's
That's
this?
it.
What kind of substance do you need? Like, I'm kind of curious because you got to think of it like this, right?
Mhm.
Given the time and place where it's in, Obi-Wan historically in that space, he doesn't do anything exciting. His whole job is watching Luke until he grows up. And then he does all the exciting stuff, right? Like, so what else could he possibly do that will not alter any kind of potential storyline for episode 4. Because, here's the issue that you're writing. When you're writing sequels back in the 70s, and then you're writing the prequels and all the
Yeah.
stuff like beforehand now, like you have to find to make it mesh. Like you don't have as much creative license to make sure you're not messing up the canon line. And they have to be very careful with that. So that's why I appreciate it for what it is. It's like I think they did the best they could with what limitations they had.
This is a so one. My one point is, I've been saying it for many years. What is with Star Wars and Lucasfilm and their obsession with that Skywalker timeline? And now we're starting to see why they're obsessed with it, because they don't have any original ideas or any idea what they're doing with Star Wars. So
That is true too,
moving on from
unfortunately.
that point, um, so yeah, like you said, what can you do? You don't really have creative license because you got to make sure everything mixes in with episode 4. But the problem is they did mess up that whole continuity with, oh, so Leia does know him as Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ben Kenobi, and they had all these adventures together. But in episode 4, when he dies, Luke is the one crying and Leia consoles him, because Leia seems like she just knows Obi-Wan Kenobi by name in episode 4. Like, oh, you fought with my father. Instead of saying you fought with my father, she should have said, oh yeah, remember that time we was like, dodging the dark Sith and the Inquisitors, and we was doing all this. It's like you're
Well, maybe
messing too
there's a
much with the
reason for
timeline.
that because we have no idea. She could get kidnapped and have her mind erased. Like, there's a million things for that because we've seen now that Star Wars is willing to go down that road of, hey, we're just
That
going to
is
erase
true.
your entire identity.
That
You know
is
what I mean?
true. That's both in the video games and in the shows. But at the same time, come on, man. Like if your audience has to continue to do mental gymnastics online and in their own brains to justify your bad decisions on storytelling, your franchise is going to plunder. Like you can't keep doing this where your audience has to keep connecting
They
the
shouldn't have
dots
even
for
brought
sure.
her in. I agree.
No,
You know what they
they
should
shouldn't
have
have brought
done?
her in.
They should have concentrated on the dynamic and the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin. That's all we care about. We don't care about anything else. If you're going to do anything, do that. Because as soon as they were brought together was the best part, I think was the best part of television history. Let's be real. When they're fighting and then his mask is half like, dude, come on.
That was
Like,
that was gold. Jeff's
that was
kiss.
powerful.
That was
I
that was amazing.
that episode was probably one of the best pieces of Star Wars anything ever.
Yes.
Like them fighting, like it's like, dude, like because even as bad as the prequels are, you at least can still appreciate the fact that there's a lot of bad blood there. And then once
Yeah.
Obi-Wan realizes that, holy crap, Anakin and Darth Vader are the same person, you're like, oh dang. And one thing they do well in is that you really feel better for Obi-Wan lying to Luke that his father's dead.
Yes.
Because he does make that differentiation himself.
Yes. I think it Obi-Wan would have been better if it was condensed and made into a movie instead of a show. Because you have a
I
show
like that.
where the little girl is running away from grown-ups, and she had like 3 chase scenes where she's dodging, she's running, she's like a little girl, and these grown-ups
Yeah,
can't catch
no, I
her.
agree.
I'm like, why is there 3 separate scenes where a
There's not
girl's
anything appealing with that. Like, this isn't about her. This is about Luke and Obi-Wan. That's it. Like, you have to make that. It's okay to have her own thing, right? If you want to go down that road, but you have to. When you're writing a product, people only care about a couple things with the prequels. All right, that's Darth Vader. Just without a doubt, everyone cares about Darth Vader. They care about Anakin. They care about that whole thing,
yeah.
and they care about his relationship with his master, which never really seems to have any kind of finale to it. There's nothing. It's so open, too many loose ends, I guess, and it's like a bad breakup, and you never really say what you have to say. You know what I mean? And
Right.
it's because Obi-Wan dies, and then that's it. Darth Vader is still like evil, I guess, but he doesn't really address it in episode 6 when he converts and he's good again. Like you see that scene at the end when he's and his Force goes with Obi-Wan, right? But there is no other real, you know what I mean? Like it's all coming together nicely type of thing. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it was I forgot who said it, but it was like I was watching the Drinker late night podcast, and one of his guests made a good point. You know, it was like George Lucas. You know, he had a great idea, but he's not the best executioner, and he didn't create lore. He was like, look at Lord of the Rings. You know, J.R.R. Tolkien. The reason why that franchise and that story and those books are so great is because he built a whole history behind them. So it justifies everything that happens
Yeah, George
in the
Lucas didn't
books.
build history. He relied on a lot of other people and stuff to build
Yeah,
that.
he wrote one movie and it astronomically did so well that he did like a quick sketch of what might happen, and then he started making more movies. He
Yeah,
didn't do
Clone
lore.
Wars.
Yeah, he didn't
Yeah,
make
he was like,
lore or
shit. Now I
history.
gotta actually do the prequels and like have a backstory for this, and it's just so.
I remember hearing one time that after it was so successful, he went to like a group of writers or something like that, and he told them in the cantina scene to make like dossiers for each alien in there. And I'm like, what? That's kind of weird. You just went to a room, he was like, yo, create this, and he left. Like, what? That's so
I
strange.
mean, I
Like
guess that's one way to do it.
but like there's so many little stories about how projects like video games and shows and stuff that didn't happen just because George Lucas would come and visit and then completely change what they were originally working on and then leave again. And then he'll come back and be like, nah, change it to this or whatever. Like The Force Unleashed was supposed to be a Darth Maul game, and he just kept changing stuff. And so he would just he would visit after like a few months, change everything. And when you're creating stuff from the ground up, like you're creating character models and stuff, you just can't change stuff on the
That's
fly.
not canon anymore, is it?
No, no, it's not, which is a shame. You know,
Jedi Survivor. I just started playing. I got it last night. I fell
mm,
asleep after 35 minutes of playing it because it came out at 9, and I wake up early, right?
right.
I haven't really had a chance to play a whole lot of it today, but so far I'm impressed. I
Mm.
can't believe that well, actually take a couple steps back. I can't believe that EA can do it because they were so hands off and they're like, listen, respawn, we give you the keys to the kingdom, you do what you want, and we'll just polish it and we'll make the money, and then that's it. And that's all you got to do. You just get a good company to actually do something what they're supposed to do. You don't give them a timeline and you don't beat them to death if they don't reach it in time, and then everything turns out
You think the
perfect.
industry would learn, but they don't. You know, people just you're going to see clones of this game coming out, and they're going to be quick deadline games. The developers doing crunch time, and they're going to be tired, and they're going
At
to
least
put out
Microsoft's
subpar
not doing
stuff.
that with Starfield because Starfield's had a few delays, and I
Yeah,
know it's going to be very well done because you're giving them. Well, first off, they've dropped almost $25 billion on this, so it's like, listen, because you got to think of the acquisition of the company,
yeah,
right? And then all of the stock hits because it doesn't it doesn't come to market, and then the production costs. Like games are not cheap.
right, right. So we'll see, man. We'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, whether you're in the gaming industry or in the film industry or in the TV industry, pay your workers, man. Stop
That's
overworking
all you
them.
got to do,
Quality over quantity.
right?
Quality over quantity. Say it with me, people. Quality over
Quality
quantity.
over quantity.
With that, this was a good one, Zach.
Yeah, quality over quantity.
Yes, quality over quantity. We're going to
I'll
name the
say it for the
episode
rest
that.
of the evening.
We'll say it. We'll close out on that. That will be the episode's title. But you know, thanks. This was another good one, my nomads. Peace. Be creative. Quality over quantity.
Quality over quantity.